I know you're pretty busy right now.
Yeah, I think we're about to go into a real busy season. The film is, the response has been very good with it. So we're hoping to wake up a lot of people. Thank you for the piece that you did.
Oh, yeah.
Lotus Guide a couple of years ago. I appreciate that.
Yeah, actually, I think it was last October or something like that, but that was one of our most popular issues. So.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can work together and get this out to more people.
That was also one of our issues. We got the most. I think I got about 7 emails from people saying this is bullshit. Blah blah blah. So, but that's good because that way I'm pushing the envelope.
Oh, absolutely. And people who are unaware of this, if they don't look into it, I mean, most people have genuinely, I think, good hearts. And for them to imagine that something so terrible would be going on is beyond a lot of people's imagination.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and start now.
Okay, are you going to cut this or just do a live feed? Or are you going to edit?
I'm going to edit it, put it on YouTube, then transcribe it from there for the magazine, and it'll be on the YouTube channel too.
Great. Maybe you could intercut some trails and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Oh yeah. I'll blend in some pictures and I'm getting this all down, Michael, little by little.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, Michael Murphy, it's nice to have you here.
Oh, great to be here, and thank you so much again for reaching out to your community and addressing this. It's very important to us.
Well, now that we know that they are spraying us, the answer, to the question of why, really has me intrigued because I tell you, the deeper I look into this, the deeper the rabbit hole gets, and the more mysterious it gets. Can you clear any of this up as far as why are they spraying us with chemicals?
Well, there are a number of different reasons, and obviously from rain tests that are now coming in from around the world, we're finding this chemtrail geoengineering footprint of aluminum, barium, and strontium raining down in all regions around the world. So exactly, now the question, we know what it is. It's the primary ingredients in many geoengineering models and also geoengineering patents. The question is why. There are a number of agendas associated with these programs, and going back to the geoengineering conferences and how they're selling this to the public, they're stating that their models are to mitigate global warming by spraying aluminum oxide and other metals into the sky. They're reflective, so they will actually reflect the sunlight back into space. But what we've learned since the first film, now studies are coming out that indicate that putting aerosols into our sky in that matter, yes, will temporarily, regionally create cooling in certain areas, but aerosols act as a blanket and they trap heat. And we've seen an increase in nighttime highs in the past 10 years since these programs seem to have been really ramped up. So again, what is the true agenda behind this? And again, that answer is there are many agendas with why in the world are they spraying. We focused on the weather control aspect of this, and without question, I've been to aerosol research conference, I've spoken to meteorologists and many scientists and professors who focus on aerosols. Aerosols are required to be in our atmosphere to manipulate, modify, and essentially corporatize our weather. So by putting in different types of aerosols, which hopefully we'll get into that dialogue, enables these corporations to control our weather and corporatize. And there's a tremendous amount of both monetary and political power that is consolidated through the control of our weather.
Well, corporate greed is definitely not an oxymoron. So I think some of this could be pure out greed for the chemical companies and the corporations involved. But there has to be deeper reasons why they're doing this, Michael. And without getting too conspiratorial and getting on shaky ground, what do you know for sure is some of the underlying reasons why they're doing this?
Well, weather control is geoengineer David Keith. He made a statement about a year and a half ago. He said geoengineering gives man godlike power, and weather control does just that. So through the use of our weather at the very, very low end of it, with why in the world are they spraying, we We investigated, what areas, what corporations, who would be interested in controlling the weather. And to be honest with you, when I first heard about this idea of weather control, I said, why would somebody want to control the weather? Before we get too deep into that, though, I'd like to just briefly go over how some of the science and how the chemtrails, how the geoengineering programs relate to the weather. And back in October, I went to an aerosol research conference in Orlando, and I learned that aerosols in our sky can actually impact weather. And aerosols, and geoengineers are open about this, and we covered in Why in the World Are They Spraying? These tiny particles that they're spraying in our sky, they act as cloud condensation nuclei. So when moisture forms, typically in a natural environment, it will condense and rain. What we're seeing today, we're seeing these particles attract the moisture, and it drifts, and it does not rain. Geoengineers are very open about the fact that their programs create drought. We are now in a global drought. If you look at the Global Drought Monitor, that's because of these programs. But typically what happens in the area that you're at in Northern California, where the storm fronts come in, very heavy trailing right on the coast. Oh, yeah. And the rain that should be falling in your area actually drifts over the Continental Divide, and it falls in the Midwest. And that's why you're seeing droughts in certain areas, floods in other areas. So by putting different aerosols, depending on what the chemicals are in the sky, they can either destroy a storm. We see a lot of times the planes spraying thunderheads, beautiful clouds that look like they're going to rain. After they spray them, they just dissolve. Or they can build clouds by putting certain chemicals in and then build storms. That's one of the technologies. Some of the other technologies, if we go back to what we're finding in the rain and what geoengineers claim they're not spraying but say they want to spray, it's aluminum oxide. And aluminum oxide, geoengineers say, is very reflective, and that would be a type of particle that they would want to put in the sky. However, we also have found that aluminum is a very effective conductor in the sky. So we noticed 500 miles ahead of a storm, heavy trailing, real heavy trailing. And the reason they're doing that is aluminum being a conductor, they have the ability through the HARP system, through other technologies, to heat the atmosphere. And what does the heating atmosphere do? It expands and it rises. And through that rising, it creates a low pressure system and literally enables these entities to steer storms. So again, through the use of this very basic technology, they can create droughts in certain areas, send rain into certain areas. So I know it was a long-winded answer, but getting back into your question of why. Again, weather control at the very least, our militaries are interested. And this is something that we dug into. Weather control has been used as early back as the Vietnam War, where the U.S. government flooded out the Ho Chi Minh Trail in a project called Project Popeye. So it's a very effective tool in creating a battlefield denial. If you can attack your enemy through the use of what appears to be natural systems, then you have a battlefield advantage. And I know, looking back to the war in Iraq, I remember the headlines. Iraqis face tremendous sandstorms in the desert. And back at that time, I wasn't aware that these technologies existed. However, at this time, now looking back, it appears that was the reason. It did give the U.S. An advantage for that. So militaries, in essence, we're very interested in this throughout history. There was a treaty called the ENMOD Treaty, which, because these technologies exist, and according to certain papers, they were, to the military, to the U.S. military, a more important weapon than the atomic bomb. That's how effective these were. A treaty came about, and it was called the ENMOD Treaty, which effectively banned countries from using this technology in warfare applications. Is it being used today? Absolutely. The loophole in this treaty was the countries could use it over their own soil. So when you manipulate, modify weather, you can literally do an atmospheric input and affect weather thousands of miles away. And that's what we're seeing through the use of these programs. So at the very least, there's an interest of the military, but we know that military controls financial markets. They are controlled by corporate interest. And one of the things that shocked me that we came about in the film, weather is being traded as a derivative on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
Yeah.
So there are mechanisms. There are mechanisms where people can make billions of dollars based on their knowledge of weather. And I'm not saying everybody working with these derivatives is, on the take or in cahoots with the people who are spraying and controlling the weather. But let's say if you have a crop in the Midwest worth $5 million, but you insure it through these derivatives for $10 million, you can make a lot of money if those crops dry up and fail. And that's what we're seeing. The people who have the foreknowledge of the weather, because most people believe the weather essentially is not predictable in long term, that simply is not the case now that this weather control is around. They have the ability, again, to make billions of dollars annually just through investing in these derivatives. And it's also very effective. We're seeing now a lot of farms go under. We're seeing because of their crops are dying. So it's a very effective land grab. We cover in the film George Soros. There's a company now, when these farms are either through floods or droughts being destroyed by this weather, George Soros is coming in. He's buying the farmland at pennies on the dollar. So it's very connected to, looks like it's connected to Agenda 21 objectives to get farmers off of their land and pack people into the cities. Yeah, and it goes deeper if you would like, but I know I've been long-winded for a while.
Well, actually, it's the deeper ones that I really want to get to. But just playing the devil's advocate for a second, even if it was working, let's say it was working, and we're actually keeping the temperature down. If the temperature of the planet is naturally rising, which it might be, whether humans are part of it or not, the temperature of the planet is naturally rising. If we artificially keep it down, and then for some reason, economic reasons, all of a sudden we can't do that no more, the temperature of the planet is going to rise so fast, so quickly, that the plants won't have time to acclimate to the rise in temperature.
And, Alan Robach, one of the top geoengineers, says just that. He says, if we were to start these programs, it would be next to impossible to stop it. Because, just as you said, the temperature would rise. Guess what? They have started these programs. And in putting aerosols in, we know from the first film that they do sterilize our soils. We know that they do destroy our ozone. We now have a huge ozone hole over the northern hemisphere. Geoengineers are calling for emergency geoengineering. These programs destroy our atmosphere from top to bottom. We have a UV index now that used to be from 1 to 10, now it's 1 to 15. People are beginning to notice, including myself, when I go out into the sun. I used to be able to stay out in the sun all day. Now I'm burnt within an hour, hour and a half. That is because our UV index, that is because our ozone is being shredded and literally destroyed. So we're seeing plants, that appear to be burnt and appear to be drying up. And yes, through the droughts, but also through the destruction of our protective layer, we have had no greater threat to our planet. Things are dying. Our soils are being sterilized. Organic farms now are having trouble growing. We were on Maui, Hawaii. I interviewed 2 farmers, and everything's dying there. I was there in the winter, in the rainforest, and the Hawaiians told me, they said, during the winter, when the rains come, we expect things to get more green. They said, when the rains came this year, everything died. And tests came in from the island, very heavy amounts of, again, aluminum, barium, strontium, primary ingredients in these programs. But the farmers who we interviewed had between a 60 and 70% decline in their yields over a 10-year period. So we're seeing very significant changes, but there's a corporate solution. Abiotic stress. Monsanto has a patent for it that addresses what's called abiotic stress. It's a genetically modified patent. What is abiotic stress? It's drought, it's heavy metal contamination, too much moisture. Everything that geoengineering creates, Monsanto has a patent. So if you look back at the weather disasters, we put together a chart which we cover in the film. For every weather disaster, Monsanto sales coincide. They go up. And the EPA estimates that we will see a continued rise in abiotic stress to go up, I believe, 50% more in the next 30 years, if I got that quote correct. And again, geoengineering creates all of these abiotic stresses. Bill Gates, who is very open about funding geoengineering research, now has invested heavily in Monsanto. So through his investment in geoengineering, which without a doubt destroys natural organic crops, he's making a ton of money on the back end through his investment in Monsanto. And getting into the deeper, which I know that you wanted to get into, this is a complete corporatization of natural systems. It's what every religion talks about in the end times. And if I could just share my experience when I live in Hawaii, I lived on an organic farm, and we live a very beautiful life, and we grow our own food, and we're essentially independent from this corporate system. We walk outside, we eat fruit from the trees, and I really believe that is the balance of nature, and that is how we were meant to live. But corporations do not gain power from this. So what this is, it's this corporate system, this corporate governmental conglomerate, I call it the beast, that wants to control everything. So through the death in destruction and through the genetic modification as a solution, they literally usurp the authority of God or the authority of nature and bring it under the authority of corporations, which these entities control. Again, this is about changing natural systems, because natural systems do not benefit the corporate system. So through death and destruction, again, that shift of power is taking place, but we're not going to let it happen. It's
right.
It's that's the beautiful thing, and some of the things that we discuss, are very concerning. But the film "Why in the World Are They Spraying?" Can I tag my website as well?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's whyintheworldarethayspraying.com, and the response has just been great. The first film woke millions up, and we believe this is going to wake up, 5 times more. We only hope and pray. But I'm having an aluminum moment, if I could. I lost my train of thought.
See, that's what the aluminum's for.
That's what the aluminum is for, and I've been getting that, so I'm doing what I can to chelate. But just the power of the human spirit, and I've seen a lot of people address this in this issue, and some address it in anger, which is hard not to do. Others address this issue in fear. I address this in faith, because I believe in the power of the human spirit, and I believe that we have a tremendous amount of authority over this earth when we exercise it, and just the power of us collectively standing up, speaking and saying, we will not participate and we will not allow this to happen. So we ask the question, why in the world are they spraying? And the answer is quite simple: because we allow it.
Right. Yeah. If we allow it, we're doing a collective suicide on a mass level, simply by not participating and saying no to this, because this simply cannot go on. I mean, this is probably one of the worst things happening, and it's probably the least known about.
Absolutely. And, well, we've seen, a tremendous awakening is happening. And from my standpoint, now people all over are waking up. I firmly believe our next film, the way it's presented, will break this open. And I mean that. And the first film was great. We encourage everybody who purchases DVDs to make copies and hand out for free. We now have ordinances in Maui, Hawaii. There's an ordinance in Suffolk County, New York. So people are starting to get active. They're starting to address this. And elected officials at the lower level, like in the county level, are starting to recognize the importance of this. So we are making a difference. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Again, I'm very hopeful that humanity collectively will stand up. For the first time, we have an issue that affects each and every living thing on the planet. So with that, we can create this unity where we collectively stand up and say, no, we're going to reclaim our planet, we're going to restore our planet, and we're going to create the future that we want for ourselves and for our children. And that future, for me, includes clean air, clean water, and fresh air to breathe.
Yeah, and just the right to live out our lives, because we've been systematically disempowered, and we've allowed this to happen. We've given over our power to governments, to religions, to corporations, to organizations, and now we're starting to see that we need to take responsibility so we can respond with ability to some of these things that are happening. And if we don't take a stand, and I think we are, I wrote an article for this last issue called Reality Check. And basically it's, what if the masters, the spiritual masters were right? You know, it all starts from inside, but we have to do what we can do out there. You know, like in the Middle East, they have this saying, believe in Allah, but tie up your camel first. You know, it's like a balance. You have to do what you can do, make documentaries, spread the word and everything, and at the same time do the inner work of transforming your consciousness to a higher level. Because whatever the problem is that we're talking about, we really don't know what the answer is yet, because it's going to come from a higher level of consciousness. But we've got to slow this thing down so it doesn't destroy us before we can get to the point of transformation.
And yes, and I believe that transformation is happening. And it was interesting when I started both films. I had no intention of starting a film, and the pieces came together. When I took the step forward, I was like a magnet, you know, and I saw the higher power working and putting things into place, and that's how I became aware that, yes, I'm supposed to be doing this. This is not something that I want to do. It's not something that really any of us who are involved in want to even address. I would like to wake up tomorrow and say this is not happening and go on with my life. But we're called to address this, and in doing so, we have that help. We have that power. We have that guiding. We have that leading, and that is when the miracles happen. And when people begin to realize the power that we have and that can manifest through us,
right,
when addressing this, that's when we will see change, and that's what's happening. So that transformation starts within each and every one of us. It starts with a consciousness in the awakening, and then manifesting that power through us. And it's happening, and it's a beautiful thing, you know.
Yep.
It's you know, the last thing I would ever want people to do is say, "Oh no, we're being sprayed." And I hear it all the time. People say, you know, "Oh no, we're powerless, we're hopeless. This is terrible. I don't want to look at it." No. That's the wrong way to look at this. Yes, some terrible things are happening, but we are the ones that have been called, and we have this wonderful, not only obligation but opportunity to address it. We're the first generation in humanity that really has the ability to turn this boat around in an issue that, again, affects each and every one of us. This is not just an issue in Africa. This is not just a political issue in the U.S. This is humanity. This is our issue. This is the issue that we have been chosen to address, and it is happening. I'm very excited to be a part of this transformation, this awakening. And
well, first of all, Michael, I think the movie's doing you. I'm not too sure you're doing the movie. I think the movie it's taking on a life of its own, you know.
Yes.
But, you know, I talk with people all the time, and what comes up for me is whatever the powers that be are, and we could get into a long dissertation about who they are, but whatever that is, there was two things that they haven't counted on. One was the internet, this right here. I mean, this is amazing to be able to get out to so many people. But two is women coming into power positions of influence where they can really start making influential decisions. And at the same time, men stepping aside and walking side by side with women to let this happen. Because right now we need nurturing energy more than ever. And it seems like women and men that are balanced are really, really connected with the energy and the consciousness of the planet and what the planet needs. I mean, this is our home, our only home, maybe, but for now, it's our only home.
This is our home. It's being destroyed right now, so we have to stand up and reclaim it. And that reclamation is happening. It is. Well, the transformation is happening.
We're going to let you go right now because I know you're busy, but I'm going to help you get the word out, and maybe shoot me an email later and give me your mailing address, and I'll mail you a few magazines when they come out.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I'll reply to it right now, and you're welcome to use the trailer as well. We have
Yeah,
two trailers.
I actually have the trailer on my blog.
Awesome, thank you. Thank
Yep.
you so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're already out there, Michael.
All right. Thanks for all your work. If there's any artwork or anything that you need for the magazine, please contact me, and I'll get you out some of our artwork.
Okay.
We have posters on the website. You might be able to pull from that. You should be able to pull from that. But I'm very appreciative of all of your support, everything that you've done. And I know you got the magazine out into every public place. And, yeah, how important that is.
Yeah, we spread that thing around.
I know you do. It's awesome.
All right, Michael, you have a good day, and thank you very much for your time.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Blessings. Okay. Bye.